Good morning, good morning. Today we're going to be taking a look at XRP, some Bitcoin, some VLO data, and the Sigma coin. So we've been monitoring this fractal for quite a while here with this old completion of an ABC down and then the first impulsive wave off the lows for XRP back in June of this year. And this is zoomed in here on the 10 minutes, and we've been kind of wondering which part of the progression are we in thus far. And I've gone back and I've re-looked at this breakdown capitulation, this kind of move that we have here. And it, to me now with this fib component here, if you notice, we only get about halfway up between the 886 and the 1 on this measured move before having a smack back down for a wave 2 of our larger wave 1, wave 2 within this third wave move, as you can see here. So this guy right here. So zooming that over to our current price action, we can actually see the same trend is continuing. So this is the completion of wave 1 and 2 thus far within this wave 3. And notice that we ended up doing a smack back down here with a flat structure that came up about halfway between the 886 and the 2 and the 1. So this was 271 is our target here. So, and then this line right here before the breakdown tends to be the area that we kind of are playing around with, and you can see again it tends to be the area that we got up to and have been playing around with. So the smack back down came back into the 618-702 region, and you can see that the wick that we ended up having last night or yesterday ended up taking us down into the 618-702 region before bouncing and continuing higher. So with the assumption that this price action in this chop now corresponds to this portion right here. So we did that. Now we're over here in this guy. You can see that there's a lot of going to be some price action, some rejections back down as we back test, bounce, back test. And we do this kind of in a grinding upward, higher, low method. And guess what we're doing? Grinding up higher, low method, printing and setting up a beautiful bear flag looking structure. But if you know that we just completed our wave 1 here, this would actually be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move off the lows to the upside, giving us a completion of, or a beginning portion of a 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would be our 4th wave right here as we're back testing, and then going into our 5th before continuing onward and doing a small corrective move right here after our completed flat. So so with the I'm going to ignore that wick just to kind of keep the count looking good. So the so this guy here, I was thinking we would have had maybe one more rollover, and this is really intriguing because this guy right here, I was expecting to go one more low, hit down into this region, close this gap possibly down here, and we ended up only filling at 256. So now when we come to Bitcoin and we look at what Bitcoin did last night, it too completed flat. So it had an ABC down, ABC up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it had that rollover 5th wave. Okay, so it did that 5th wave structure, whereas XRP did it with a chopping variant falling 5th, where it did, this would be like 3 right here, and then this guy would actually be the 5th wave, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there is where this guy would ultimately end its 5th wave. So definitely very choppy, we kind of more kind of crazy structure, but this final 5th kind of came in here. Oh, there it is right there. So that's a 5th. So the we completed with a 5-wave move down, and then there's your 5-wave finish move that then ended up bouncing, and we just didn't revisit these lows again, and we may not actually based off of how we're doing it here. So this structure here is going to be another flat, right? So you got this 5-wave move completion, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have an ABC completion for a flat, taking back this volume gap that was too impulsive, and then from here we should now be poised and ready and follow the XRP fractal, where we just kind of finish out this move, grind higher, and then eventually get back up to this 1 level and start testing and fighting 270, hopefully by the end of the day today, if not sooner. So so we'll start being in this region, closing this as support and everything that we're working off of here. And you can see that we would just kind of grind through this region, back testing this whole area, and then out of here. And that would be exactly what we would expect kind of up in this zone. So the so far nothing is broken, everything looks great, and this flat was just a quick, small, very shallow back test of the region that we were looking at, and no breakdown thus far. So I'm now surmising we're in this zone right here, just working off the 786, getting ready to break up to the 1. And here we are at the 786, getting ready to break out above the 1. So we should be moving right through here. So that's great news. Now we say, okay, well, the count looks great, but what about this potential rollover? What thoughts do we have on this? Well, one other chart before, so we've got Bitcoin holding the higher lows, doing its own flat completion, and now is working impulsively, and it did not cross the wave 1 level there. Now, going over to the market cap chart, this one's actually a kind of a cleaner looking count, and you can see we have a very clear 5-wave move to the upside, an ABC down, and then this is our first wave 1 of wave 3, and now we have the flat. So we have an ABC down, ABC up, and there's your 5 waves, back testing that same region that we were expecting, and a very nice impulsive bounce off of it as it was rejecting the 1 level. So building support and back testing through here is the last few kind of checks, and then we should be very parabolic, kind of moving our way out of here. So what's XRP doing in the background? Well, we had an extreme reflushing of all of the leverage gone. We've gotten back up to just the healthy region. So this green line, just so you have perspective, is below it is like not existent. This is where it should be, and we've just finally returned to where it should be on the open interest. It is starting to slant a little bit more towards up, but the price action ultimately for the liquidation has a ton of longs above us sitting at the levels that we're expecting to move towards. And when we move to the 1 month, you can just see the massive amount of liquidity that we have on XRP to the upside. And it is all wanting us to get back up in here to this 316 range. So if we go back to the idea that we would move up into the top of this range, getting above these peaks to the left, and we take that same thought process and we move it over to XRP's current price, we can see that when we move up here, we could probably expect us to get up to the 298 here in the next, by Friday. And then we would continue on and move back up to the top of the range, getting up into the 330 range, 325 range on top of this supply, probably by the following, Wednesday? Tuesday of the following week. So that's kind of where we're trending thus far. And you could see that the same setup here would take us kind of out for that 5th, so maybe a little bit longer for that to play. But ultimately, this supply here gets us to the liquidity there, which would be in this big bundle of 216 to 330 range. So anyway, so that's basically what we're looking at here. Now, some additional intriguing things to note. I wanted to jump back to the velo data. So here's your XRP velo data showing that we have some longs showing up, but we just, not many. They just got there a little bit ago. And we can see that the Bitcoin, though, is a little different story. So Bitcoin went down and is now flushing back up again also with its activity. But you can see buying pressures coming in, and Bitcoin with its flat completion right here has now made it so that there still isn't a ton of massive leverage buy longs. There's still a lot of shorts in the system, and we're just grinding our way out of this price action as they're closing out the final longs trying to bring this through. But buying pressure is coming in for Bitcoin. So definitely pretty cool to see. And ultimately, that makes me think that we're just beginning this journey, and we are, for XRP, getting ready to do this price action. So what does that do to our Sigma coin? Well, Sigma has been teasing this entire range this entire time and has not been giving an entry into this purple box that we were hoping would be a final backtest level. Everybody's just been slowly accumulating it, and you can see sells are coming in, buys are coming in, and it's just slowly marching up, and it's just not giving that access to that area of attack here as we start to see this, hopefully move higher. And so the expectation is that we should see Sigma the expectation at this point is that if XRP is going to break out, we may not get that backtest anymore now that we went through it yesterday. And now the idea would be that we would just keep pushing higher, and that was it. You don't get this purple box entry to get back into the asset because we filled, potential volume here. We're back on top of support, and we're just building on it with continual higher lows. So until these higher lows, break, which they have not yet, then at this point, I'm going to say we may not visit that box at all. So we will see. Time will tell. And so ultimately, long story short, Sigma's teasing the fact that it probably won't give us this gap close. Okay, Bitcoin's open interest is still not amazingly healthy. It's still actually above the red area, and that would mean that because it's above this red area for the open interest, this could be a ton of shorts having been piled in, and it could actually wick through and liquidate the shorts, bringing us back to a healthy area. And then we have the market cap chart showing that there's a very just clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an ABC. So we're getting ready for our next leg of the impulse, which is our most parabolic for wave 3. Bitcoin also held all of its levels that it needed to for the internal count for wave 1, wave 2. And this is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll have a fifth that's going to be pretty parabolic coming out of here very soon, just in time for the Fed meeting. And finally, our old fractal says that we're now chopping right through this region here with a quick back test to the 702. And that quick back test to the 702 may already be happening. Yeah, we might get a quick wick back down here to 261, depending on the volatility of the Fed move. So it goes whoop-ah, and then it just gets out of here. So I don't know if it'll go that deep. Looking at this now, I'm thinking maybe we would see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I would say this is wave 4 still, so we have to get to the 5th, and there might be just one back test here. Maybe down here I could have maybe, but I just, it'd be tough. It'd be tough to justify that here with the count. I don't know if it would be that deep and aggressive. So we'll just have to watch and monitor. So, but as of right now, everything looks wonderful, looks great. No expectations of this wave 4 to come back through here. And so we've got our minor degree of a wave 1, 2, 3, and now we're working on the 4th. And then this would be pushing us up to the 5th before we go in and do a correction, which would take us basically right here into this wave 1, 2, and then there's your 3, 4, and 5. So, all right, thanks guys for watching, and we'll check in tomorrow.